Hello and welcome back to Living a Culture of Life podcast by Human Life International. I'm your host, Colleen, and I'm very excited to share today's special update episode with you. If you've been following HLI for a while, you may remember our discussion about the Samoa Agreement back in 2023. Essentially, this is an agreement between the European Union and the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, and we were concerned it would be used as a Trojan horse to push anti-family ideology into the developing world. Well, on today's episode, Luis Martinez joins us to discuss this treaty and where it stands today. Luis is our director for intergovernmental organizations and diplomatic missions, so he's on the front lines of spreading awareness about this treaty. It's a great conversation. I love discussing these topics with Luis because he always has great insights and really has a bird's eye view of what's going on globally on the fight for life and family. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to the previous episodes about this a couple years ago, don't worry about that. Luis gives us a nice recap of the problems with this agreement. As always, if you're listening on our audio platforms, please pause and leave us a 5-star review and subscribe to the show. And if you're listening on our YouTube channel, please like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you can get new episodes every Thursday. Without further ado, please welcome Luis Martinez to Living a Culture of Life. Welcome back to the podcast, Luis.
Thank you so much, Colleen, and thank you for the opportunity to be here in person.
It's so great to have you in person because the last episode you did was remote, which was obviously good, but I love having all of you in Front Royal so that I can have conversations with everybody in person. So
yeah, it's amazing. It's very exciting also for me, and thank you.
You're welcome. Well, today I'd like to talk a little bit about the ACP-EU or the Samoa Agreement, which we wrote a lot about in 2023, and I was hoping to give our audience a little update about it. So Could you begin? Some of our audience has probably come on board, started watching the podcast since 2023 and have never heard of this. So could you begin the episode by giving them a little recap about what this agreement was and what it did?
Sure. It is a pleasure, and I think it's very good to talk about this stuff, because it could be a little technical, but in fact, it is not. It is a clear and very easy understanding issue about big implications on moral and ethical, especially regarding life and family issues. So, like the context that we was talking about 2 years ago. This is an agreement signed in 2023. When were talking, it was recently signed.
Okay.
And it started already like a provisional implementation since January 2024.
Okay.
And it is intended to last for the next 20 years. Yeah. I know it's switching the Cotonou Agreement that was the previous one also between European Union and African states, but now is with the whole entire OACPS organization that is like the UN, but only for all the African states, with the Caribbean states and the Asian states.
Okay.
So it is involved. They are involved like 106 countries.
Oh, wow.
That represent 56%, more than half of the UN member states. It's like 1.5 billion people. And it involves the 20%, the fifth part of the GDP, the global GDP. So by its magnitude, we can be considering it like one of the most huge international cooperation frameworks of the world.
And so when you say 106 countries, that's including both the European Union and the OACPS, so the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember when we wrote about it, we were talking about the 79 countries within the OACPS who would, I think, bear the brunt of it, because the agreement is between the EU and then the provisions in this agreement apply to the 79 countries. Is that a correct assessment? Okay.
Yeah. Totally.
Just trying to make sure people who have heard about this before can connect the dots between the two.
Yeah, so, there are 21 of the OACPS plus the 27 of the European Union.
Okay. Yeah. So why was this agreement problematic? Because I believe on the surface it looked like it was mostly an economic treaty, But we were concerned about the effects that it would have on life and family. So could you talk a little bit about what was so problematic about this agreement?
Yeah, yeah, of course. As you said, this could be a very good development agreement
Mhm.
that carry many good things to those developing countries.
Mhm.
But in fact, there are a huge threat here. We can consider two main areas of concern.
Mhm.
The first one is political because the African countries are like the heart of the pro-life bloc at the UN.
Mm.
And in this agreement, there are a couple of articles that are worded with the ambiguous language.
Mhm.
So the European Union could pressure, make some pressure on the African states to vote, to
Mhm.
change their votes in favor of comprehensive sexual education or sexual and reproductive rights and health,
Mhm.
arguing that they are commitments in the agreement because there are a couple articles like 9, like
Mhm.
Article 36, that talk about universal and common values and human rights, that talk about the equality of gender, the empowerment of women. There are good things, but again, there are ambiguous.
Mhm.
EU could lead, or we can be open the doors to a diplomatic blackmail,
Mm.
like saying if you don't support resolutions about those topics,
Mhm.
you are violating the spirit of the agreement.
Mm.
And that is extremely sensitive because those African countries are the ones that are being the main obstacle to the expansion of abortion and
Mm.
gender in the international spaces.
Mhm. And there are also countries that need the economic help, the developing nation help. And we had Emil when I was talking to him when he was here about the East African Community Bill, which was pushing abortion as well, and just talking about USAID and how a lot of times money that's supposed to go towards development is tied
Sure.
to these Western ideologies, and it's hard to separate them. So you have countries that are developing that would benefit greatly from financial support also being the greatest impediment to the spread of abortion, and so a
Yeah,
lot of times those 2 go together where it's like, well, we might pull your money if you don't support abortion or if you don't vote in such a way, and it's so not fair to the people of those countries that their ability to develop on a material basis should be tied to their accepting of these anti-life, anti-family ideologies.
totally. And that's the main dilemma at the intergovernmental organizations. That
Mhm.
is the main thread, the main trouble we have there, because there are, as you said, a couple, or not a couple, the more than a half countries that they are seeing their people, their nation, their uh, nation suffering about food, about water, about education, about technology. They are not having a good way of living,
Mhm.
and the opportunity of having depends or relies in the way they support things that they are not used to. They
Mhm.
are not in their frames, in their costumes. So in this agreement, we already have framed and identified a couple of programs
Mhm.
that European Union are developing
Mhm.
for, in concrete, this Samoa Agreement, and we have identified two already in March, already being implemented. There are huge, very huge programs.
Could you tell our audience a little bit about what these are, like what they involve?
Yeah, yeah. The main example is it's called the Global Gateway Africa Europe Investment Package.
Okay.
It is about 150 billion euros and will include like six main programs.
Okay.
For example, one of them is to build huge facilities in Africa
Mhm.
to produce a clean hydrogen
Mhm.
in Africa, and another sector is to cable with huge undersea cables, like the one is called Africa One,
Okay.
that will connect all the north and east coast of Africa to Europe, to
Okay.
the internet. Another one, and very problematic for us, is to build facilities and infrastructure to improve hospitals and pharmacy.
Okay.
So we will be having manufacturing of vaccines and new medicines in Africa, and we know that through that vaccines and new treatments uh, historically has been a vehicle for the sterilization and population policies. And another one is about investment in training and education.
Okay.
And again, we know that it's a big vehicle that will be training in gender and good things also, but always is there, like the UNESCO manual for comprehensive sexual education.
Yes, I remember reading through that manual for sex education, and it was horrifying, all of the different things that it involved.
Totally.
I want to just like highlight what you were just saying too, that things on the surface that sound good, the development of hospitals or like development of pharmacies, that sounds really good on the surface. And obviously, you want to support people receiving healthcare.
Of course.
And and same with education. Obviously, education is a good. It's good for people
Yeah.
to be able to learn and have the education to be able to go and have different jobs. But then when that all gets tied up with these anti-life ideologies, I don't know this for sure, but I'm guessing that the pharmacies are going to involve the funding of spreading birth control to different areas. I know
Yeah.
Dr. Brian Close has talked about in the past issues with vaccine distribution where they're actually saying things are vaccines, but I think he was the one who was talking about this. I don't remember. I know that
The,
RFK Jr. was talking about this, the spread in Africa of giving people certain vaccines that were actually birth control as well. So
yes.
just the fact that these things that on the surface seem good are actually oftentimes vehicles for these problematic ideologies, things that are going to be harmful to the African culture, to the, Caribbean and Pacific cultures.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, to our own culture as well. But yeah, it's such like a conflict that I don't think Americans are always aware of how much good we want to be doing in these developing countries and how sometimes what can seem like a good is a
In
Trojan horse for something that's problematic.
Yeah, and even the programs that are not so clear, that are problematic, like the
Hmm.
one of the hydrogen
Hmm.
or the one of the undersea cables that
Hmm.
are working, even them, because of the huge amount of investment,
Hmm.
they, as we said, they could be considered a very good treatment and development, but in fact, it can become a big instrument of culture engineering,
Mm.
in which the money is used as the tool
Mhm,
for shaping the internal laws.
mhm,
If some countries accept to vote in favor of resolutions
mhm,
about what we are concerned about, and even other things about what are things that United European Union
mhm,
are interested in, they will be prioritized and favored on that investments
mhm.
because they vote in line. So the money will be used as a tool for shaping internal laws or changing the policies on life and family in those countries.
Yeah. Well, that was actually going into my next question, which was whether or not the agreement overrides national laws. And if it does not override national laws, how it's still going to influence what the laws are in those countries. Could
Right.
you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah. We must understand that right now the agreement is in its first implementation.
Okay.
So the many things that are happening over there are in the frame of building cooperation frameworks,
Hmm.
building financial projects like this one and another one about hydroelectric in Fiji Islands,
Mm.
and policy lines are all of the new conversations are about that. But it's a question of time. It's a matter of time. The risk is over there. It's structural
Hmm.
because in the agreement there are already some legal seats
Hmm.
that, with a good environment for them, will become on those changes on the votes of the African group at the UN, for
Mhm.
example. And even when right now we don't have any evidence, any public evidence of if some country of the OECPS already changed some program or some law,
Mhm.
most probably they haven't still, because it's the first implementation.
Mhm.
But the seeds already planted,
Mhm.
and it could become, as we said, um, the biggest international tool for influence the culture
Mhm.
for the next decades.
Yeah.
This agreement, and our audience should be aware of this, because we can talk about the pandemic treaty, we can talk about the HLPF, about environmental development.
Mhm.
Many treaties are now being running on
Mhm.
the international scope, but this one, the ACP-EU, the Samoa Agreement, by its magnitude in number of countries,
Mm.
its relevance in the kind of countries that are involved, the African group, the
Mhm.
Caribbean, the Pacific, could become the most powerful treatment on life and family influence for the next 2 decades.
Wow.
Yeah,
And I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the way that that's discussed in the treaty is that there's a section on human rights. And so things like sexual and reproductive rights are listed as human rights. And so the if they sign the treaty, they're accepting to adhere by the EU's definition of human rights, which includes things like sexual and reproductive rights, which, as you and
hmm,
I discussed last time, is a Trojan horse. It subtly means things like abortion, comprehensive sex ed, contraception,
totally.
etc. So is
Yeah,
that a correct assessment of what happens in the treaty?
totally correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the Trojan horse is there, but as the history of Troya and the Greeks and the those peoples fighting for conquest Troya, we cannot see so clearly that those concepts are there in the treatment. They are
Mhm.
not. The wording is ambiguous,
Mhm.
and it will depend on the implementation and the interpretation of the treaty.
Okay.
So your question is very good, and it will be about how can we use the treatment, how can we prevent the countries so they can be safe, they can be clear
Mhm.
about what the treatment entails,
Okay.
and that is our little is a little spaces, a couple, three, maybe four spaces that we can work on,
Mhm.
so the treaty, this ambiguous treaty, could be interpreted in a good way,
Mhm.
and could be useful for a tool of development for us.
So that's one of the benefits of using vague language, is that it's not defined, so you can help try to interpret it in a specific way to protect the life and family values.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So this is where it gets into the part where I don't know. So the last time I looked into this treaty, it had been signed by the proper number of ambassadors from the OACPS countries, but it had not been ratified by all of the governments. But it was like tentatively, like, in effect, but it still needed to be ratified. Is that still the situation? Has there been any update in the past year and a half? What's the current standing?
Yeah, is that almost the quite a sharp situation exactly?
Okay.
Yeah, the only difference is that when we talked 2 years ago,
Mhm.
there were like 20, in between 15 and 20 countries that has not that hadn't signed the agreement. Right now there are only two:
Oh, no.
Cuba and Equatorial Guinea.
Interesting.
Yeah, those are the only ones that are not signing. But you talk about something very interesting, and that's why maybe they like Jamaica, like Nigeria,
Mhm.
that maybe they both were the most active against the agreement,
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica, Nigeria. Even they sign it before, because we have still the source of the ratification.
Okay.
We have still something to do there, because the actual implementation is provisional, is
Okay.
not definitive. And there are many countries, almost the half of the countries of the OECPS,
Mm-hmm.
that has not ratified the agreement.
Okay.
The agreement should be ratified in almost every countries are a duty of the parliament,
Okay.
the ratification. So we need to work over there. The parliaments are now our main
Mm-hmm.
little space
Yeah.
of manage this, and we can do three things. I
Okay.
think one of them is to get to them and explain in a clear language what the agreement entails.
Okay.
I know people maybe I was also in that belief.
Mm-hmm.
We maybe think that parliaments are very aware what they are signing in, but many times they are not, and even more when the wording is ambiguous,
Mm-hmm.
and you should study, you should be aware of the possible interpretations that they have, because it's not only about some technical interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
In those cases, it's easier for the parliaments ask for their advisors to explain.
Mm-hmm.
But in this kind of ideological interpretations and ideological ambiguity, they are not very interested and they are not aware that it could happen. So we go to be there through our affiliates, through our allies,
Mm-hmm.
in Africa, in Asia, in the Caribbean, to alert them and explain them the implications of this agreement.
Mm-hmm.
In the second place, so the first battle is educational, is training.
Yeah.
The second one is political. Before the ratification and during the ratification, we have the possibility, the nations have the possibility to make some reservations, some interpretative reservation or sovereign declarations
Mm-hmm.
that could clarify that I, as a member state, I'm signing in the context that this term, this concept means this.
Mm.
So all the ambiguous language uh, in which the European Union could make pressure over me
Mm-hmm.
because I am not agree to favor a resolution on sexual and reproductive rights
Mm-hmm.
could be released, could be solved,
Mm-hmm.
because I am signing with this resolute interpretation
Mm-hmm.
that is making me free for considering sexual and reproductive rights, because I am not defining health on those terms.
So basically, like, I'm signing it with the understanding that sexual and reproductive rights does not include abortion or list the things that the country wants to exclude from the understanding of it. So then
Exactly.
if they try to be forced into it, they can say, well, I signed it with this understanding.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if nothing else, there's a legal battle there, which could stall things for a little bit.
Yeah. And this topic and like abortion or
Mhm.
others, the state has a very, and it's fair. One of us is somebody can sign an agreement with the bank, with
Mhm.
some partner, and make statements about the glossary,
Mhm.
about clarifications, and the member states too. But again, we think that they are very aware that they can, and not always. It's incredible, but it happens.
Mhm.
Some of them are very concerned about that maybe the treaty, the agreement, will push them to some things that they don't want. And I don't know how it could be
Mhm.
happening, but we need to remember them that they have those tools, that they have the interpretative declarations, that they have the sovereign declarations, and to use them.
Okay.
So um, if maybe we make an effort to push some countries to do that, some of them don't do that because it is so in the diplomatic environment, like
Mm.
you are not so with good faith with the
Mhm.
agreement, but it is a matter of I don't care what you think about it. Yeah, even in the diplomatic world,
Yeah.
there are persons that are so meaning about what they should think of my country, and there are many countries like right now, United States at the UN or
Mhm.
the OAS is like I don't care. This is my country, and I will protect it. And finally, the third thing we can do is for forcing the two before having a pro-life unit
Mm.
that the pro-life movements at Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean could be united and coordinated, not only for protesting, not only for complaining, but for acting strategically at
Mhm.
the diplomatic, parliamentary, and in the narrative
Mhm.
about the Samoa Agreement. So we can do through those efforts
Mhm.
and that unit the push to the declarative resolutions, uh, interpretations, and the training to the parliaments.
Mhm. In the year and a half since the provincial and treaty has been in, or the treaty has been in effect provincially, has there been any countries that have been forced to relax their policies on abortion or LGBTQ yet, or has that been something that hasn't been touched because they're waiting till everyone ratifies it to start kind of pushing down that road?
I think well, we don't have still any evidence of any change. Thanks God, right
Okay.
now, no country of the OECPS have um, data or facts about some
Mhm.
change in their laws regarding life and family. With exception of two countries of the European Union, that is the most surprising
Okay.
because it's not only about the Samoa Agreement, it's also about other factors.
Okay.
But Poland and Hungary
Yeah.
at the UN has yelled in favor of European Union right now. We
Mm.
cannot count of them right now,
Mhm.
and that is very that a step back, is a big step back
Mhm.
because Poland and Hungary has been the core with Malta of the
Mhm.
pro-life sector in the European Union.
Mhm.
But directly from the Samoa Agreement, we don't have still any changes.
Mhm.
But that's because what we were commenting before, that it is in the first stage in its implementation,
Mhm.
and it's a provisional implementation.
Yeah.
They are working only in building the structures
Mhm.
to in a couple of years. I can prevent that maybe 2 years
Okay.
we will starting I hope don't, we hope don't,
Yeah.
but if we don't work very united, very strategically
Mhm.
and intelligently, uh, monitoring, pressuring, contacting parliaments and member
Mhm.
states, we will start to see some changes in some of them.
Is that the timeline for ratification, 2 years as well? Like, is there a timeline that countries have to the parliaments have to ratify the agreement by, or is that open-ended?
Open-ended,
Okay.
yeah, they can ratify in any time, even
Mhm.
the 19th year of the agreement. That could
Interesting.
be very good.
Do you think there's countries that, like, I don't know, you mentioned Jamaica and Nigeria were both pretty against the treaty. Do you think that there's any countries that signed it and then they'll just pull out if anything bad happens, that they're just like, "Well, we're gonna benefit from this in the meantime, but we're never gonna ratify it, so if something bad
S-
happens, we can pull out." Do you think that's a strategy, or is that not something?
Yeah, it's a very good strategy and a very good question because European Union also did it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean?
And There is one of the programs are not launched yet,
Okay.
but there are many conversations about it already that they are intending to reduce the public debt of those countries in a very considerable percentage.
Okay.
So it's like when you have a support for studying in some university,
Mm-hmm.
you need to attend the classes.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the 80% of the grades.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have, in many universities, they ask you for the entire uh, how is the name? The entire quantity and amount of the
Tuition.
tuition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something like that. They are offering OCPS countries are not already, but they are thinking to offer a, a big reduction of public debt,
Okay.
even a new international cooperation funding.
Mm-hmm.
So they will be in a new debt. They
Mm-hmm.
will be discounted in the last one. But if they are intending to get out the agreement after they
Mm-hmm.
are participating in those benefits, they will, I'm pretty sure that they will put little letters in the agreement
Okay.
so they should pay,
Mm-hmm.
and the cost of getting out the agreement will be very high. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure.
So once they receive any kind of benefits from it, they're basically locked in, or else they'll have to basically pay back that entire amount plus more.
Yeah,
Okay.
and plus considering the infrastructure projects like the Green Gateway or the
Mm-hmm.
Green Blue
Yeah.
Fiji Island, if you are one of the countries that are selected
Mm-hmm.
to being the venue of some hydrogen plant.
Mm-hmm.
First, it's because you already change your vote
Mm.
because
Yeah.
you are being prioritized, and the second one is they won't be allowed you to get out after that.
Mm-hmm.
It will be very difficult. It always be possible, but that is the main dilemma of this topic, that countries should be very brave
Mm-hmm.
to support that their people are in a great need,
Mm-hmm.
but they cannot sign or vote in the UN in
Mm-hmm.
favor of things that they know that affect the people, like the abortion.
That's got to be a really hard position to be in as a
Yeah,
government leader where you see real need among your people and you want to help it, but that comes with compromising morals, and not just your own morals, but like the morals of the culture that you're representing.
yeah,
And yeah, it's very unfair that
yeah,
Western nations are putting countries in this position. And yeah, it's a conflict that I feel like people don't appreciate all the time, of what these leaders of these countries are facing when it comes to
yeah.
things like aid.
And support their governments when they are having the force
Mhm.
to face that. We have seen in the OES, for example, that many countries, not many, but a couple, maybe a half of the countries of the Caribbean
Mhm.
have a yield in this position.
Mm.
I have seen countries like Antigua and Barbuda,
Mhm.
or countries like IT that
Mhm.
are needing so much international cooperation support,
Mhm.
and you see suddenly that they are voting in favor of gender resolutions that they were not used to.
Yeah.
So it's very sad. And in the UN, the good thing is that African bloc, African group,
Mhm.
or the OIC group, that is the Islamic
Okay.
Commission, the
Yeah.
Islamic countries, are very used to oppose the developed countries,
Mhm.
even when they are constrained
Mhm.
by the funds
Mhm.
that they will be not receiving. They are very used to oppose.
Okay.
They are very over there. But right now we have a little conjuncture that will be affecting this because US is not attending the UN conferences,
Okay.
and it's good. The US are defunding USAID,
Mhm.
and is giving a big push to the UN by not attending. Is only attending General Assembly, the Council of Security, the Nuclear Energy Commission, and all that. But the little dark side of this is that those countries like African ones or the Islamic ones, they are supported by the United States. And now they are alone over there at the UN, and European Union is getting close to them and pushing more because United States is not there to oversee that they are not doing that.
Interesting. So basically, the U.S. is trying to kind of make a statement to the UN by not getting involved.
Yeah.
But then in the backing out, you're leaving these African countries vulnerable to the other powerful Western nations without kind of the other big brother there to help defend them.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This goes back to the question I was asking about countries relaxing their policies on abortion. So this is probably, your answer is going to be that the treaty is still in its beginning stages. But have you seen any changes in the votes at the UN from the countries affected by the OACPS, like by this agreement, since the agreement has taken effect? Or is that still something that's probably going to happen down the road?
It's a good question. Totally yes to the both I mentioned of Europe.
Okay.
Yeah, Hungary and Poland was for certain after the Samoa Agreement.
Okay.
We don't know if it's directly related, but for sure it was after.
Okay.
So both of them. In addition, I have now not noticed of any change.
Okay.
Because Guatemala is changing, but it's not part of the agreement. But we lost Guatemala recently. Another one is no. Only can think about one or two countries that made step backs of the polite position, but they are not part of the OACP. So right now, I can assure that we are only losing to European countries, but we cannot say totally if we can relay that with the Samoa Agreement.
Yeah.
But I think it's a matter of time. I hope don't.
Yeah.
But we need to be very alert. We need to stay there, and HLI and me will be of one of my duties over there, monitoring of those countries especially because they are in risk.
Well, and also, like you said, letting them know that the tools that they're able to use, like the saying sexual and reproductive rights does not include abortion in our interpretive declaration or the sovereignty declaration.
Exactly.
So being able to go to those parliaments, say, here's what's in this agreement, here's what this vague term means, here's the tools that you have at your disposal to hopefully be able to get some of the beneficial aid from this agreement without compromising and like selling the soul of your culture.
Yes, because that way they can release of the blackmailing, diplomat blackmailing, because they could say, no, I am not violating the spirit of the agreement. I am not breaking the agreement because I am empowering women. I am pushing the gender, the equality of gender in the good way, meaning exactly this. And you cannot say that I am out of the agreement. They cannot be able to avoid that. The thing that the investments and the election of the countries is a matter of the European Union. So European Union will take a little revenge of that, but it will be with less damage, with a little more control by doing that, as you said.
Okay, here's a question. What does the European Union gain from this agreement? I can see definitely what the African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries gain from it. What does the EU gain from having an agreement like this?
Oh, yeah. So much. The main interest is, of course, economic. For example, about the facilities for manufacturing hydrogen. There will be funds, private funds, in the majority of European companies,
Okay.
and the hydrogen they will produce will be for Europe.
Okay.
So the only benefit is for Africa is that there will be more labor positions. Mm, and also the infrastructure around the facility, like highways, like a little new town, things like that. But the main economic benefit will be, even with that project, for Europe. So
Interesting.
that's
Okay.
something that countries of the OECPS should be aware of, that the benefit is not so high to
Interesting.
risk the values.
Yeah.
For example, in the
Fascinating.
Fiji Islands, also the hydroelectric
Mhm.
electric plant they will be doing, a huge one, will be for the benefit of Oceania, the
Mhm.
benefit of Japan mainly,
Okay.
and there will be a little more benefit of some countries around some islands.
Mhm.
But even with that project, the return of the investment will be for European companies.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
that's the main gain of Europe.
Yeah.
About the values and human rights and things that are spreading or trying to push,
Yeah.
you know that sometimes also are involved the companies on the abortion industry, or the
Mhm.
pills, or the how is the name, the pharmacies
Mhm.
companies.
Yeah.
So that will be also an economic gain.
Well, and it sounded like also you were saying that they would be pressured to vote in line with the EU at the UN, which would then give the EU a little bit more leverage in determining global politics as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Definitively, African countries are the balance right now. If
Mhm.
we don't have if we don't count with the African countries,
Mhm.
many times ago we'll have abortion as a human right at the UN.
Mm.
And that's why I was telling them we are concerned about that this agreement could become the most powerful
Mhm.
for influence the policies around the world
Mhm.
in the next years, because shaping the vote of African countries could shape in life and family
Mhm.
all the narrative in the opposite side.
Yikes. That's high stakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. You probably like, I'm sure our audience has heard about this before, but could you just talk a little bit about why this agreement isn't necessarily unique and that this is a common tactic used at the UN, at the OAS, about how to push these agendas? Because I think it's something that I was not aware of. Growing up pro life in America, I knew a lot about pro life American politics. I never knew that intergovernmental treaties and agreements could be a
Yeah.
means to push abortion on these nations. So we've talked a little bit about it with this treaty, but how
In
common is this?
general.
Is this, oh, like something that happens all the time? Is it something that this is an isolated situation? What's the like? Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about that?
No, you are very observing that it is a very, very common tool that they
Hmm.
use for pushing gains in economic issue, sector, or branch, but also for values and laws
Hmm.
changing. For example, in Mexico, where I
Hmm.
am from, in the 90s, we signed an agreement with Canada and United States for trade
Hmm.
and economy, and that is a good agreement. The
Hmm.
three countries have been benefit so much of that. But the interesting thing is, one of the main conditions for signing this agreement,
Hmm.
condition that Mexico could be implementing, is that Mexico should have been creating a new government entity called the Commission on Human Rights,
Hmm.
National Commission on Human Rights. So we hadn't over there that commission,
Hmm.
and right now is a tool, is a government agency to push LGBT rights.
Oh, wow.
and is not related with trade, with economics.
Yeah.
And why do a country, of course, it happened many years ago, it was
Hmm.
with another administration, but why do some country could condition treat a trade and economic huge treatment with creating an institution in the government for human rights?
Hmm.
And that happened in the UN right now. It's happening every day because they have they change constantly the categories of the countries. When I was a child, they were calling like poor countries or third world countries.
Hmm.
Right now, there are like three categories that are less developing countries, less developed countries, landlocked developing countries. There
Okay.
are the countries that have no access to the sea,
Hmm.
and small island developing states, the
Mm.
seeds, like in
Okay.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
So those three kind of countries are also, again, the more than a half of the member states. There are 115.
Okay.
And I have seen a couple of times that, for example, right now, the last one I see was Guatemala.
Hmm.
That Guatemala in the past government, it was not cooperating with the gender and abortion agenda.
Hmm.
It was a very good pro-life government. It was the big warrior over there. And the UN, the um, Sustainable Development
Hmm.
Commission, took out Guatemala from the LDC, less developed countries.
Yeah.
And Guatemala right now is like a middle income country that's not considered in those 115. Uh, Maybe we can think that that country would be celebrate that it's
Yeah.
not anymore a less developing country. No, because it means that they won't receive any international cooperation right now
Oh.
because they don't need it.
Yeah.
And in fact, Guatemala is needing. It's only about the name or the title
Mm.
they won't be receiving. And they many big blocs at the UN play with that categories,
Hmm.
uh, making them a prize
Hmm.
for the small countries or developing countries that are favoring the resolutions in gender and equality. The constraints in financial
Hmm.
cooperation are, as we say at the beginning, the main problem we have over there. Yeah,
Yeah. Obviously, the ideal would be to have economic and foreign aid not have these strings attached.
totally.
Do you think it's possible in the current, like, social, cultural climate of the Western countries that's even possible or practical? Because obviously that's the ideal that we wanna shoot for, but is that even feasible?
Yeah. It- of course, it is possible, but it's about the quality of governors we have,
Okay.
a quality of the governments we choose. Um, it seems to the all the problems over there in the UN
Mhm.
are about negotiations, resolutions, diplomatics, but it's not. It all is about elections in our own local countries, local.
Mm.
Because if we choose a good government,
Mhm.
not only about the life and family, but also about the corruption,
Mhm.
about the capacity of making good alliances with other countries
Mhm.
that benefit both. The work for HLI over there in the UN. And I'm not intending to be easier. I'm not asking that, but I will have HLI will have success over there
Mhm.
if our people, our missionaries have success in their own local cities
Mhm.
electing good governments. Because, of course, a good government, a good politician will care about the developing countries. And
Mhm.
if he's in position of helping them, he will do it.
Mhm.
Not conditioning, not constraining to some ideological condition.
Mhm.
So it's possible, but it's again a matter of human nature about
Yeah. That's kind
Yeah,
of what I was thinking, is it seems like this is just a problem that keeps coming up again and again and again. And I like what you're saying though, if you elect people to your local government who care about the country and who actually have standards and aren't just going to be easily bribed into some other position, they're going to appoint ambassadors and diplomats and people to the positions at the UN who are hopefully of the same character. And if you have people there who first of all care about the country and will work to do what they can to get either assistance or get opportunities for development, but also not compromise the culture and compromise your moral values to do that.
yeah,
You want people who are both very good at their job in trying to get
exactly.
assistance for their country, but at the same time have standards they're not going to like sacrifice
Like
for
have
that
good
end.
value standards. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you already said it will be happening because that's the nature of the human. It
Hmm.
will we will have good and bad decisions.
Hmm.
So it implies also that there are over there some good
Hmm.
treaties that help each other, the
Hmm.
countries to develop, to grow, and not to compromise. But the constant or the main line of those good treaties
Hmm.
are about the equality, the most the most recognition the countries have each other.
Hmm.
It is possible to have a good negotiation and so a good treaty in which no of them will constrain in the other.
Hmm.
So those good treaties, that good development treaties, are happening only right now between, or mostly between, the big states
Hmm.
because they are not needing uh, cooperation. They are
Yeah.
not needing international cooperation. So they are in the same line, in the same height.
Hmm.
Uh,
So you have two countries that are equal in GDP or kind of in the economic situations can make treaties with each other that are beneficial. But when you have a developed country trying to help a less developed country, you end up in this position of like ideological colonization, essentially.
exactly.
Okay.
And sorry, I'm talking too much, but
No, it's good.
right now we have a good opportunity because in conclusion, we can have good treaties when maybe developing countries are agreeing and having consensus on treaties between them.
Mm,
But in those treaties, we will be needing the technology, the innovation, the
hmm.
money they don't have.
Yeah.
And right now, there is happening something very, very unique at the UN because normally the developing countries are the ones that are supporting life and family.
Hmm.
But now there are like a block of main economies, big economies, at least one in each continent that
Hmm.
are helping life and family.
Really?
So
That's
that
good.
there is where we could have the solution because those big countries
Hmm.
could help developing agreements between equals
Hmm.
between developing countries, and they can cooperate without compromising
Mm,
values.
yeah.
That is, for example, United States here in America,
Hmm.
Argentina in South America, is Russia at Europe.
Hmm.
Um, in Africa is Nigeria and Egypt,
Hmm.
and in also in Asia is Pakistan and Iran.
Okay.
Those countries are big economies, and you will not see Russia and the United States or Iran and Russia, yes, but Iran and Argentina making relations and trade or commerce or army.
Yeah.
But in life and family, they are very close right now. So
Interesting.
it's very weird to see that
Yeah.
it's happening.
You must have a very unique perspective on all of that, working like being at the UN and seeing watching these dynamics play out because yeah, you have these countries that are opposed in lots of other ways, but then
Yeah,
weirdly on life and family they're aligned. So,
it's good
yeah.
to see them having conversation with each other
Hmm.
and supporting all the bloc in their continent
Yeah.
about pro-life. So we have a good perspective. That is a good resource of hope right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, for sure. So, Luis, for anyone in our audience who has either been following this story of the Samoa Agreement or has just been listening on this podcast and is like motivated by it, is there anything that they can do to help either spread awareness about this or to help like support the work that you're doing. Obviously giving to HLI is great, but for anyone who's motivated to go do something, as fired up after this podcast, what's like your advice for them?
Yeah. First of all, that nowadays the defense of life and family include to being aware of the meaning of those treaties. Yeah, we need to be informed. We need to, as we get informed about that in one country, the abortion is being debated. Nowadays, the defense of life and family relies also in these kind of topics, these treaties. So, first of all, that try to be informed. And for that purpose, we can help in HLI webpage. We can, of course, this podcast you are doing is great on that, and we can upload some articles that could help in this agreement and other ones. And in second place, that this defense of life and family nowadays could include I know now all the people likes the poll. Yeah, like the politics. But you can add to your team, in your country, in your life efforts, always one person that like the politics and could be in touch with the parliamentaries of your country. And we can help. At HLI, we can help with training, virtual training, some training with documents, with orientation, how to approach them, what do we need to say them. We are in time right now.
Yeah.
And there are many people around in Africa, in Asia, in the Caribbean that can help that with an email, with a phone call, with a visit, can do a difference. Only by saying, for example, your parliamentary, you need to do some declarative interpretation to the Samoa Agreement, and the parliamentary will see you. How do you know that?
What are you talking about?
And maybe you will not develop much more, but it is not necessary. With that phrase, you do it a huge rock of sand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spreading awareness about that possibility for the interpretive declarations. Interesting. Well, Luis, thank you so much for this conversation today. Thank you for sharing about just your knowledge on this agreement and also just what's going on at the UN. It's always fascinating to hear what the global political situation is. So thank you very much.
No, thank HLI and you for the opportunity to be here and for the opportunity to represent you, HLI, and all the polite people that are interested to represent them over there in the UN. I need your prayers, and I can say that I will do my best to become HLI great and polite cause great at the UN. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Luis. And to all of our audience, please like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star review or share this video, and keep on living the culture of life. God bless.